Hi, it's SVPod. With Stanford Steve, I'm Scott Van Pelt. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
For $1 million, could you have told me what day of the week it was?
It's funny. I woke up to text this morning, and I'm like, wait, I usually do stuff with, a bunch of guys, radio and other pods, and I'm like, it's Friday.
You're a pod whore.
Well, I am.
Fine. Got to pay that money.
Hey.
Got to pay that note, baby. Hey, I'm happy you're here. I'm happy we're here. It's an odd day. It's Friday. We're just trying to get caught up.
Yeah, we got the First Responder Bowl today. Texas State, North Texas. You ready?
Shout out to Denton. Mean Green in the building.
4 o'clock Eastern, ESPN.
And then we got Arizona State. Then we got Virginia Tech and Row the Boat.
Yeah, Mayo Bowl.
That's a big one.
Just disgusting.
Stanford Steve's most hated things include mayonnaise, mustard, Parmesan cheese, and other things. It's a long list, actually.
Yeah, there is a lot.
I have an important question, but you're not the person to answer it, but just play along. I'm sitting here, and I'm covered in sap.
Oh, the sticky tree. Taking it down.
Today was take the tree down day. Now, this is the important question. I will leave the lights up and the decorations outside until perhaps March.
Yeah.
Don't care.
Nope.
It looks beautiful.
Great.
We got a little snow front, Steve, coming through.
Heard.
All you weather weenies. I told you about the Euro and the negative NAO, and you said you don't know what that means. Yes, I do. We might actually.
You called this before the warm front.
I told you. Well,
you did.
That's because I looked at the weather porn and I let myself believe, even though
cheated.
Even though I said I wouldn't.
How bored were you that you were looking that up?
Oh, when there's a possibility of a little ding dong, you get a little low, little Gulf of Mexico, get the little northern
swooping up,
something like that. You just need enough cold air. And
we got that.
Well, and looks like we might get one. So with the Christmas lights and the decorations, I'm going to leave them up. I got a quick thought here to my friends in the serious space. Do you have to turn off the Christmas music the day after? Leave it going.
Yeah, that's fine.
But no, the next day, Holly gone.
Oh, yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Just leave it on.
Yeah.
People are still feeling festive, man. Not you, Grinch. Who's in charge over there? Let it keep playing, man. Lights stay up. Christmas tree, however, comes down. Why? Because it's dead as a bucket of chicken. And you reach a point where it just has to come down. Your tree, you go fake.
Yes.
Okay.
2.
Is it still up?
No.
Came down when?
Don't know. When I was gone.
Wow. Wifey just said.
Yeah. Oh, wifey's good. She, we got the in-laws coming in now, so she wanted everything out. It's going to be, they come down with the van, and that thing is packed to the gills all the time.
So your girls get bonus Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Today after school.
It's like, you know what that's you take Hanukkah and make it like Christmas-ka. And you just do 8. Well, there's 12 days of Christmas allegedly, so you just do how many Christmases can you do through various in-laws?
Speaking of driving around town, I missed it this year because I was gone, but recycle day and garbage day after Christmas, like it is unbelievable. So I guess we had a bunch of wind Wednesday night.
Wind front.
Heavy wind front. And wifey and oldest daughter go out, put it out because I'm not home. Next morning, she wakes up. She's like, it's all over the street.
Oh, no.
All over.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, well, maybe it was somebody else. And she's like, well, the beers you got from Jason Kelsey, garage beers, those laying across the street kind of gave it away that it was our stuff.
Wow. I'll say this.
Not even here getting blamed, but I'm very sorry for that.
Well, I'm very, 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 very buttoned up with the box. Cut them up, put them in your... I see the neighbors, and I'm just going to say I judge you. When you just have your boxes all over the place, help them out. Cut them up. Get an X-Acto knife. Go to Stroh Snyder's. By the way, guy, my local hardware.
Ours.
Do you go?
Yeah.
Love it. Guy said, hey, some guy came in here, said he's listening to the pod, came here because of you. I'm like, we move product, baby. Shout out to Stroh Snyder's. Go there, get some box cutters. Cut up your boxes, put them in your recycle thing so that it's not just shit everywhere. Then, Christmas week, get yourself a little envelope, throw a honeybee in there, slap a little bow, affix it to your can, and then guess what happens? If your shit's all over the yard, they're going to make sure that they're going to look after you.
Not this much shit.
You probably want to keep it.
Yeah, I do a good job of stacking. It's
Understood.
never blown away when I was in charge.
We got the tree out there as of today, so I'm covered in sap. I would have left it up. I love it. I love it. Night, leaving the lights on, the Christmas lights on, makes me put you in a happy space.
Yeah, it's the last thing you see before going to bed.
Exactly.
Right.
And you know what we got? There's this little gold doohickey. It's a tree, and you hook that up to all the lights, and you just go up to that light and go doot, and you touch it. Magic. Lights go off. You got one of them?
No.
Need one.
Okay. Little doohickey.
You need the little gold tree doohickey. I don't know where you get it.
Stroh Snyder's.
Probably. You know what else I got to do? I got to go up there now and get me some gas additive. Put it in my snowblower. That gas might have turned.
You got a blower?
Hell yeah. When we lived in Connecticut, bro, it would snow up to your.
Oh, you had a driveway too there, bro.
And we needed to address some things. Plus, you just feel, you feel like you're.
Get the gloves on?
Hell yeah. You feel like you're taking care of the old homestead when you get out there. Ring.
Put on the old SVPod in the ears. Get ripping.
But the problem is the gas that's been in that tank might have been in there since.
Fine.
No, fine. It's really not.
Fine.
I'm going to go ask them what I need to throw in there. And they're going to know. Because throw
some Diet Coke in there. You got that around the garage.
It couldn't be worse. Whatever's in there right now, I don't think it's going to work. And I can never remember the choke, where it
don't
goes.
Don't over-choke it.
No, and I don't know.
You'll flood the gas line, and it'll never start.
So about the college football playoff, is anyone still listening? Where shall we start? You've been everywhere.
Yeah.
You were all ginned up to talk bowl games that had nothing to do with the
notes.
playoff.
Yeah.
Steve's got notes.
If we have time.
Yeah, because I don't know if we're going to get to some of the bowls. There have been some awesome bowl games.
Yeah, there have. How about Bielema?
Wow. He revels in that. The Bielema Beamer deal would have. And look, I mean, all due respect, these are grown men. They're not going to fight, but if they do, I'm taking the guy from Champaign.
Takes one.
Yeah?
One connection.
Although Beamer he's scrappy.
That's what I'm saying. It's feisty. Both ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah. Bielema smiling was just, and I get it. Everyone was just furious. You've been all over. Where would you like to begin?
Last night.
Okay.
Couldn't be more impressed with what Notre Dame did in the way they won it. So many teams have gotten this opportunity, this stage, and they haven't been able to play for 60. You heard Marcus Freeman talk about it going in the halftime. You talked about it after the game. We knew this was going to – he thought the world of Georgia. And when you watch the tape, you have to think, especially when you're playing them, the way they've come back, second half deficits they've overcome recently, the SEC title game, the Georgia Tech game, all over the place. You knew you just needed to stay in the fight, and their defense is phenomenal. Notre Dame's, Georgia's also.
Yep.
But when you get a swing like that at the end of the first half and in the opening half of the second half, it's 17 points in 25 seconds. You're dreaming of getting that scenario. So now you get your strength to show what it's all about, and that's that defense. And they did. I mean, those guys flying around, they lose 99, and it doesn't matter. They rotated more guys in. I thought Stockton was good. He wasn't a problem. Their left tackle got beat time after time. Then they go into rotation at tackles. Then their biggest name, Trust, he's on the bench in the fourth quarter. Talking to Cole Kubelik and Laura Rutledge that did sideline for radio and TV, they said he looked fine, and it was a performance-based deal. So I was just really, really impressed with what Notre Dame, because they didn't have 300 yards of offense.
It was like,
against Georgia, that's their MO. Is they're going to limit you. They constantly got put in third down situations. But again, talking to Coach Saban before the game's January 1st, I'm just going to say, that's the crux that's always gotten Kirby and Nick's defenses is quarterbacks that quarterback run. And more so, not scripted quarterback run. So, like you saw a run early in the game where it's a counter going to the left. McElroy drew it up perfectly. Leonard doesn't follow it. He cuts it back, and he gets about 12 yards. The scramble where he gets flipped. All that stuff you can't account for when you are scripting a defense and setting up a scheme, and that's what got him. And Leonard was in there again. He stayed in the fight. He took some hits, even on throws.
He's the leading rusher in the game by more than double anybody else.
They got nothing from Jeremiah Love. The running back positions had a couple little passes to Faison, the lax player, who's awesome. But the way Notre Dame did that with the defense bringing the fight for 60, all the credit to him. Really, really, really impressive.
You said it. Basically a 30-second window where, and it's one of these deals where I'm in the house. It's 6-3. I made a critical error. I went upstairs to do something. There's boxes everywhere. Trying to
find the gold doohickey.
I know where that is. And it was right on the tree. I know right where it was. Come back down and it's like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah.
Rewind the tape. Oh, they got home on Stockton. Oh, they scored on the first play. I mean, and then to return the kick in real time, it's even worse in a sense because it's on clock time. It's 30 seconds, but you've got all of halftime to think about how the half ends, and then they come out and throw yet another haymaker. But I'll say this: 20-10, and now that building's back in it, and the Dogs are like, "All right, this is our half. This is what we do." And they just couldn't land a combo. They couldn't get the punch they needed to really put Notre Dame on the ropes. They could never land. Nope. And that's Notre Dame's defense.
Yes.
It's been that all year. And you said it well, I think. I mean, Georgia didn't lose because of Stockton. I thought they should have taken more shots, frankly. They didn't. Are they better with Beck? Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. But they didn't lose because their quarterback wasn't good enough. This is just the reality of playing with your backup, and Notre Dame deserves what they got. They move forward.
Yeah.
All 4 seeds that had byes lost.
First 3 teams that
were down 14-0.
Yeah.
That was your stat.
Yeah. And, I mean, if you go to the half, Notre Dame's up 13-3. Like, all those teams.
Is there anything to that?
We talked about it, and Saban was, and he pointed it out because it happened to Boise State. Tackling and ball security. And you saw Genty, I didn't see him fumble all year. And he goes to the side, crazy how it just goes straight up in the air. 6 grabs it, gets 1 foot in, and that's another turnover. And I think that puts them up 14-0. So the idea of tackling and just recognizing stuff and game speed right away, I thought Stockton did struggle with that a little bit on some quarterback run stuff with how fast Notre Dame was playing, where you're not going to get to only in a game situation. But then the ball security, ETN puts it on the turf. That dude, Schuler, 8 for Aiden Schuler, holy hell. I mean, you talk about hitting, covering, just running the football. I was blown away by what he brought to the table last night. I thought he was I thought he was their best player. I mean, I'm not talking about Watts, also in there, but I mean, those are the 2 things: tackling in space and ball security. And Notre Dame, I mean, 15, that corner, he's a freshman. I'm not taking deep shots on him. The way he tackles, he's an absolute stud. And the thing about Notre Dame's defense is they've lost NFL guys.
4 of them.
And they just keep rolling them in.
Their best players they've lost.
Yeah, Morrison was my favorite corner going into the year. They lose him halfway through the season, or maybe not even. And then this 15 comes in. I'm like, man. So, yeah, I just think those two things were the biggest eye openers. Ohio State too. They were on their game speed right off the get. Penn State also.
You know what's interesting about the whole Notre Dame build to this point? They deal with I don't know what's the right way to say it. Not hate. Well, maybe people love to root against because there's a million reasons. Maybe you grew up disliking them because they were really good and they beat your team. Maybe you dislike the fact that you feel like they had these built-in advantages, the way the playoff system was set up in the past, where they could get in, and then they got on the big stage and they got pantsed every time. But this group, remember when they introduced Freeman to that team? Remember that video and that reaction, and it showed you how connected they were to that man, and that's an enormous stage.
Yeah.
The brightest lights there are. And I've been impressed with him at every turn. He came on with us on Wednesday. They're supposed to play. Obviously, what happened in New Orleans is tragic beyond description. And he alluded to that, getting together with his team, talked about praying for the people involved, and then trying to refocus on what they had earned, which is this opportunity. And then the way they played Thursday is such a reflection, I think, of the culture that gets built. We use that word a lot. Earlier this year, we talked about you watching Ohio State, Michigan, and saying that Michigan win was a culture win. You're like, okay, I see what that's about. I just think you're playing a program in Georgia that's been lived in these moments, and Notre Dame in an SEC sort of hotbed, if you will, against a team that's played in all these games. They show you what Freeman's built there, and I couldn't be more impressed with what that is.
Totally agree.
And the thing about having to win 4 of these is you realize, damn, we're only halfway there, right? You're only halfway there. Let's go all the way back and then work our way forward, because you referenced the Genty and the turnovers. Penn State jumped Boise, and it's a lot to nothing. And you're like, here we go. Boise didn't deserve the bye. Boise this and that. It's a 3-point game if there's a hands to the face, and it was. Mm-hmm. It was. But Madsen hit, and I can't remember who it was. It was 17. He hit Strachan for a touchdown. And it's a 3-point game. But it's hands to the face, and then they end up getting nothing out of it.
Missed field goal, I think, again.
They missed 2.
Yeah.
So you have a touchdown taken away, missed field goal. They had that wild play where Genty has the ball, get hit from behind, and somehow it magically pops up. Penn State makes a great play on defense, gets the turnover. Boise's driving again, trying to get to within 3. They get picked. And it's the kind of game where in the end, you get the long touchdown run from Singleton that puts it to bed and takes yet another favorite to cover town. I hope all of you are rich beyond reason.
I heard next year's Christmas gifts now.
Just betting every single favorite without any fear of consequence, because sure, 17-point victory. And it looks not reflective really of the fight that I thought Boise showed. I was impressed that they took a standing 8, and then they were in it. All of you out there that said you weren't impressed with Genty, just tell me you don't understand football.
Yeah.
Just wear a shirt that says, I don't know ball. All right? That Penn State defense, even without Abdul Carter, who they've got to have moving forward, even without him, Coach Allen just says, we're gonna put 8 up here, and you're going to have to earn it. Well, he did. He had to earn it, but he got to 100. And they're running it late, and I'm kind of like, a little urgency maybe. I didn't love that. But I just think if your takeaway is, well, this guy shouldn't have won the high, shut up. Come on. Any idea what you're looking at? Apparently not. But I'm interested in how you view Penn State coming out of this game. What your takeaways from this victory were.
It's funny. When I watch Penn State, I always want more from the offense. I don't have to talk about how much I love Tyler Warren. He's a man-child. The backs I talked about before the Big Ten title game, and they actually showed something in throwing the ball to him and getting the ball more in space. There's 2 NFL backs, man, Katron Allen and Singleton.
Over 200 combined.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost 2 games in a row, too, I believe, because they had good days against SMU. So you have the lead, and it's, 17-7 at half?
Yep. And then it's 17-14 on the tight end. Kind of a bust, I guess.
Well, it's the same play that Georgia ran for a touchdown last night, and Texas ran for the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
Little tight end wheel seam.
Best athletes on the field. OCs, think about that.
Beat them. But Penn State, I feel like it's a game script, and they come out, they get cute, they score again. Their players are making plays. He stopped running the football in the third quarter. I didn't understand it. They were gashing them with Allen, and I think Singleton has another gear than Allen. Allen's great between the tackles, but you even saw him running that wide zone. And when you get that wide zone, it's man on a man, and he's just looking for that crease, and it doesn't look like there's anything there, and boom, he pops for 10 or 12. Singleton does it to end the game, but you sort of played it to where you let them back in because of what you did offensively. Does that make sense?
I guess. I mean, Penn State has Aller, who's a pro. They've got several backs that can do it. They've got a complete matchup. Warren's an impossible matchup. Look at the touchdown that gave him the 14-point lead. It's like a 50-50 ball, but it's not. You just throw. He's 6'6", 260. Yeah. It's like 44 is getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But the point I think you're making, I agree with, is you do that, and then it feels like you could just run away from people, and they rarely do.
Mm-hmm.
They rarely do.
Yeah.
I do think some of that is credit to a Boise team that wasn't going to go away just like, okay. Well, I guess,
no.
You know what I mean?
Scrappy.
I mean, they battled. But I'll tell you, moving forward, it's like to see them against that Notre Dame defense is going to be. I'm curious what they're going to lean on. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
because I would think Notre Dame's going to say, "All right, 15,
correct.
You're going to have to beat us.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead," and maybe he will. Just a little insight into Steve. This game is his personal hell. Penn State against Notre Dame.
All of my buddies, they're either Penn State or Notre Dame, and I was neither. So it was great to get text. I haven't heard from people in years. Really, really good.
And by definition, one of them is going to be happy.
Yep.
Moving beyond this game. But
both teams have treated your boy well. I will say that.
Okay.
You know my MO.
Yep. Stanford Steve.
Bet on teams you don't like.
That old happiness hedge in reverse.
You're not a fan of.
The Texas-Arizona State game was everything you want.
Holy shit.
There you go.
Texas is a team a lot. Penn State, you feel like you know them. Like you watch them week in and out. You go back and watch all 22. And Texas has created this formula, not including Georgia games, where they have gotten out. And Quinn's throwing the ball over the yard, and they get Helm involved. And the receivers are great. And the running backs, who are 4th and 5th on the depth chart coming into the year, are doing their thing. And then it's, we're going to smother you in the second half, and our defense is going to kill you.
Don't they do the same thing that Penn State does, where they have these lulls, and the lulls are the problem? We talked about this with Dusty Dvorchak, who was in with us, did a great job in studio. He's covered their games as much as anybody. He's like, they just have these quarters, like against Kentucky and against Arkansas, where you're just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they allow an Arizona State team that's they're not going quietly into the night to come punching back. Go ahead, I interrupted you.
But this one was flipped, Scott. They needed the offense to bail the defense out because the defense was hanging by a thread in the second half. And it's because Arizona State, and credit to Dillingham, he made it an absolute blow-for-blow fight. Arizona State ran 97 plays. 97. I don't care what defense you have. You're going to have guys that are gassed. And people have their feelings about Quinn Ewers. I don't think he was healthy a lot of the year. But, man, 4th and 13 with your season on the line, and you throw that anticipated of a throw, and then you come out, that throw to Helm to win the game, that's not an easy throw. You're running forward, and you got to lead that guy as 2 guys are trailing him. That's a really, really hard throw.
And that was like a layup off the wrong foot, and he's climbing up in the pocket as he makes it. I think he threw off his right foot.
He might have,
and it was perfect.
Yeah. So the way they got that done, I mean, obviously, you know what you're going up against in the next game, but to dig that deep and find yourself under those circumstances and possibly being, you know, the joke of the playoff where you're going to be the team that loses, the favorite that loses it as a double-digit favorite. I thought it showed a lot. You could tell how Sark was frustrated. I thought Arizona State's defense, that's 7, Sanders, Shamil, or whatever, he comes in and he's suspended for his first half, comes in, makes an impact on the safety right away. And Arizona State's defense, with him on the field in the second half, they dictated. And we haven't even talked about Skattebo, but we'll get to him in a minute. I was even more impressed with Levitt. I thought he showed a ton of moxie. He got hit a ton early on. He doesn't have his best receiver. He's trying to do things, you know, off kilter and off schedule, and he battled his ass off. And I'll say this. I went up to Pete Thamel. I'm like, hey, you know, you talk to these guys about NIL. I'm like, the first thing ASU has to do in the portal NIL, they have to get a kicker. You can't play college football without a kicker. And it's like it's not real.
They were 4 for 12 coming into the game, which is why that very first drive I was surprised. He made it, and they got 3, and you're like, hey, how about it? Now 1 got blocked, and this is where the whole was it targeting, was it not targeting, and our rules folks said it was. I saw Macaulay from NBC on Twitter is like, that's targeting. Like the people whose job it is to say it's targeting said it was targeting. I get that everyone on Twitter knows for sure what it was or wasn't. But to presume Arizona State would have been able to drive down and win that game with a field goal is asking a lot.
No.
Because they have the worst kicking game of any power team in America.
And that's why I said coaching knowing that. And you know it's worse than what the people outside that are tuning in for the first time when they're like, oh, they don't have a kicker. They probably got a punter that could kick. No, they don't.
That was a problem all year. In this game, they lost because they gave up a 4th and 13. And Ewers to Golden, who was unbelievable, by the way. Golden made some sick catches.
Yeah.
None more important, clearly, than the touchdown. And then the fact that in double overtime, defense has to turn right back around and go out there emotionally, physically, whatever. There's only so much energy you've got. And Arizona State apparently seemed low at that point. But I have a question about Sark, and I'm going to get to Skattebo. I don't get this. They scored to start the game in 2 plays.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone talks about Sark, the play caller. And you talk about game script. I don't understand what happens with these lulls. I don't get it. And this is where I will plead. I think I understand a lot. I didn't play it. I just don't get how you can have a brilliant offensive mind that people rave about, and Ewers and that offense can look like this, and then they just get stuck. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, I understand the other team. They got scholarship players too.
Correct.
And they make adjustments. Well, then you need to, Sark, this group with a bunch of pros and unlimited NIL, you got to be better adjusting to their adjustments. And I just don't understand how it is that they hit these spots where they're just ordinary. Because when they're played to their ceiling, they're not.
Yeah. I put a lot on lack of execution. I talked with guys on their staff. I agree with everything they do. But now you go into that game, you don't have your right tackle who's a pro. Now you bring in the kid Goolsby, who's another. So you got some line shuffling going on.
Okay.
And with a lead, obviously Sark, everything they do comes off running the football. We've seen them be successful, very successful.
They didn't run it at all.
In running the football, and they couldn't do it.
Okay.
So a lot to the idea of Chip Kelly with Ohio State against Michigan, you get stubborn. Whereas it looks like Ohio State's totally, changed their course of how they're going to attack, and it's helped them. So with Texas, the lulls, I think it's more lack of execution. Yeah, a coach could be stubborn and say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to run it. And you get caught behind the sticks, and then your defense is on the field. Like, it was a total snowball of things that happened, and you're like, holy. I mean, I walked out to the Rose Bowl field to watch warm-ups. It was 24-8. 24-8.
Yeah, and then it was.
And then I'm like, wait, what? Skattebo threw a 40-yard touchdown pass?
He checked to it. Checked to it. That guy. I'm still not going to get to him yet because I have one last question. All of this go to Arch. Do you think if he were better than Ewers, he wouldn't be playing? I promise he would. They're not playing for fun. They're not playing to piss off their fans and not play the quarterback that gives them the best chance to win. I just hear that chatter, and I'm thinking, what? There's a reason Ewers is out there. Now, if the rumors are true about, like, if he's the guy that there's supposedly, like, a bounty on, like, that number, I don't get it. Because if somebody wants to pay him $6 million, have fun. I don't see that. I just don't. See it for a minute, but for that number, I want to see you be Cam Ward. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't, that part for me, are we on the same page? Like, if Arch were the guy, he'd play.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is actually putting more onus on Arch going into next year.
Well, I mean, yeah.
This isn't a good thing, but he's wired that way. Like, he expects it.
Skattebo. All year, if you're paying attention, you're like, this truck wearing a 4 is just impossible to get on the ground. He's out there puking, running, catching, throwing, the whole 9, and he's got a little shit to him now.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Clark, whose son played at Arizona State, now plays for Notre Dame, number 1, Jordan, playmaker out there been playing
undefeated
well.
in the Superdome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Played with him there. And Ryan tells these great stories about him, about Cam, and about Cam's dad. And as soon as I saw the cutaway in the stands, I'm like, that's got to be his dad.
Yeah.
Because he's just this great, very stoic, quiet guy, bunch of tats on his arms. I'm like, I see the tats, and I see everyone's going crazy, and he's very calm, his pop. And Cam's out there just mean mugging and the whole bit. The world just fell in love with the dude if they didn't know who he was already. I'm interested and I don't always love doing this, but I watch him and I'm like, he's got to be someone who's got a home somewhere in the league to have some kind of role.
God, yeah. No, it really brought me back because when I was in school, Arizona State was the shit. Like, Jake Plummer came out that year with the Rose Bowl. They whipped our ass. They had monsters on that team, skill guys all over the place. J.R. Redmond with the Patriots to Poole, the receiver. Juan Roque was a ginormous human being at left tackle, lining up against Pat Tillman, Fright Night. All those guys, they were the team, and they had a serious edge. They had an edge, and now they have that back. Some say punky, spunky, whatever words you want. They got an edge to them. And then for them to talk their shit before the game, I think really caught off Texas because they were like, "What did we do? Like, we're coming. Don't worry." And Levitt and Skattebo doing their things, and then Dillingham to back them up. I was like, we got one here. And all week, everybody asked who has a better chance, Boise or Arizona State. I'm like, Arizona State, because they know exactly who they are. There's more edge. I think they have more talent. And then they go down. They get blitzed early on, and they're down. And then the way they came back, and to see him, I saw his interview with DP yesterday. He said he had a bad breakfast croissant sandwich, and that was kind of like hovering in him. He said he didn't feel great, and he said once he puked, he felt like he got it all out of him. Being a man that has puked during a football game, you feel so much better. You have no idea. Is it pretty? No, it's not. But sometimes it has to be done. And I do think Texas took him to the brink because he needed every single ounce of what he had in him. Texas, the way they come at you. I mean, what did he go? 30 for 143 And then, Genti did 30 for 102.
He had 99 receiving yards as well. And threw for a touchdown.
And over catches, prop over. No big deal.
No big deal.
Winners. So, yeah, it was awesome. But that's the ASU I remember it as. And we always talk about is this a successful season or not, and it's not even close what they've done. Just please go get a kicker.
Speaking of Plummer, he was on the sideline just out of his mind. Love him.
Snake.
Love him.
Gutsy. Gamer. All out game. Have you ever met him? You would be blown away at his stature. There's not a lot of man there.
He's a skinny dude.
But a little wiry, just tough as hell baller that you would love. And he's the same way when you have a couple pops with him, too.
Or mushrooms.
Yeah, I stayed away from those.
I say nothing. What'd you call Arizona State? They were the team? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, there's a team right now that's the team. And it's the Ohio State University. We talked about Michigan and that game and how I don't get why you allow one game to define your life. And by making one day matter that much, you can say the other 364 don't. But maybe Michigan did the very best thing for Ohio State.
Yeah.
They lost. They turned their gaze inward, and they realized, we're actually all right, because we just got to go be us and take a deep breath. And they have absolutely dump trucked Tennessee and Oregon. They're up 21-0 in the first quarter on Tennessee, whose defense was real. They're up 34-0 on an unbeaten Oregon team, and it's whatever you want. Some of it's as simple as throw it to 4. Chip says, I listen. Some of it's that their defense gets to Gabriel 8 times. They call them the silver bullets, that defensive secondary. The NFL's littered with those guys. Those guys are making plays on every single level. And if that's the ceiling, no one else can push that button. Like, when you go to a hotel and you got to have the card that you can push a certain floor, Ohio State has that. They've got the card for a floor that no one else has.
Like that analogy? Is that your own?
I just made it up right now.
Love it.
It's not even on the card.
All right, so I've been waiting to tell you this story because I didn't want to text it to you or call you or whatever. So we're on. it's the Rose Bowl. The sun's out. It's fucking glorious.
Just stop for a second. What's better than the Rose Bowl for you personally? Like, and he hates a lot, but he loves a lot too. Is the Rose Bowl in like this its own place for what it means to you?
There's nothing. I'll say this. There's nothing prettier. I still like a big student section where they're getting on the opposing team, Sure. But when we come down the tunnel, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, you got red and you got green. It's perfect.
Ho, ho, ho.
And so I'm over on the Ohio State sidelines, saw Big Nut, Buckeye guy, those guys sitting right next to each other.
Like Marvel superheroes.
I honestly thought to myself, is that a good thing? Because if something bad happens, there's one shot for a camera guy, and he's getting all of Ohio State in that one shot. So I'm standing over there. Maurice Claret's over there. Our guy, Chris Carter, he says hello.
What's up,
is
CC?
standing there. So CC and I are standing next to each other. First possession. Boom. Tight end wheel to G. He looks at me like big eyes. Even though he's got his shades on, I can still see his eyes popping. Third play, Jeremiah Smith. Touchdown.
Play the fight zone.
He crosses the goal line, and CC turns to me and he goes, grown-ass motherfucking man, right there.
19. I said on the highlight, I didn't say that, but I said he's a teenager, but he's got grown man body and a grown man game.
And I'm like, CC's the biggest Ohio State homer there is. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. He's got, as much moxie as anybody. But CC loves himself as much as anybody. He'll be the first to tell you that. But for him to say that about him, I'm like, this is a guy that's did it. He's got a yellow jacket. And it's that kid, man. I watch Will Howard pregame. They throw deep routes before they go put their pads on. 6 for 6, 50-yard deep balls. Jeremiah Smith, Ibuka, Tate, all of them. And I'm just looking at him. And Howard's got this pep in his step. And I go say hello to Chip. He gives me another wink. I'm like, oh, boy.
Here we go.
Again? Great.
Because you picked Oregon.
I picked Oregon, but my pick was the over. So
right, but when Chip winks at you, you're like, well, that's probably
exactly.
Okay.
So it was, and then like I walked up. It's 24 when Smith catches the second one. That makes it 24 because Trevion made it 31. So it's 24. I go around to the Oregon sideline. Like Jordan James is out. Evan Stewart, who I thought was a huge factor in this game, he gets dinged in warm-ups, I guess. He doesn't play. That sideline was dead. I mean, just not an ounce of energy. And I will say, to Dylan Gabriel's credit, as a kid, I loved watching his whole career, trying to figure things out on the run without your two best weapons. I give them credit for battling, but it wasn't going to happen on that day, man. The way Simon Ransom at safety, Downs, that defense, and then the poor right tackle for Oregon had a long, long day.
8 sacks.
And it wasn't just Sawyer. It was Sawyer. It was JTT. 92 comes in. Then they got this other kid, 97, that comes in. They got some juice on third downs. It's going to take an A-plus effort to beat them. They got this thing rolling.
Clearly, and I think we said at the time, you lose to Michigan and you could still win the title, but will it matter? Yes. I think if you continue to play like this, Michigan fans are going to needle you, and you're just going to have to eat it.
Oh.
But so what?
Yeah.
So what? This is what you spent all that money on, to look like this. Because Oregon hadn't lost, man. Hadn't lost a game. And when we talked to Ryan Day after the first game, he said, we got a lot of football more left. We got 3 more games. When he came on with me the other night, I said, you weren't being boastful. It wasn't like a guarantee. I said, I presume you guys are preparing for 120 more minutes of football. He said, absolutely. That's the mindset. He goes, normally we would enjoy this. We're going right back right now to Columbus. We got to get ready for Texas. Texas is going to be an underdog for the first time since they went to Tuscaloosa last year, and that was the only time they've been a dog in a while, and we know what they did down there. They won that game. Very interesting setup where an Ohio State team has looked as well as they've played for 2 games. And now Texas gets to go to their home state. Ohio State's going to travel, sure. Yeah. Don't worry about that. But you're in your home state, and you get to put on that underdog 10-gallon hat. It sets up for a very it's pretty juicy potential for what could be, right?
Yeah.
But you said it perfectly. It's going to take an A-plus effort.
Mm-hmm.
And Sark and Texas have got enough to compete for sure.
No doubt.
You just can't afford those 10-minute lulls where you're just ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way this Ohio State team is looking, like if they punt, it's a big deal. And I'm curious. This isn't what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy, something like that. That Ohio State wide receiver room that Hartline has had for the last however many years is outrageous. But it seems if Chris Carter's screaming grown-ass MF and man about number 4, that he is ultimately, potentially, the best of the group. Is that what people seem to think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a quick yeah when you're talking about who we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I just think about, we watch NFL every Sunday, and you look at the difference makers, and you think about the guys where they were, and LSU and Alabama come to mind, but like there's always Ohio State,
no doubt,
sprinkled.
Oh,
but then I think like what really like McLaurin was a guy for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the guys, and you see him take it to a whole higher level.
Yep.
At the pros, like they've had every kind of guy.
Yeah, Olave and him.
This guy's an alpha.
Okay,
because he's bigger than you think, Scott.
No. He looks it.
He's not super skinny. I did McShay's pod the other day, and we were talking because I said, hey, I need to talk about Jeremiah Smith because I would take him over. And he's like, I said that. I'm like, oh shit, sorry, I didn't listen to your pods. I'm like, maybe nobody listens to anybody else's pods. Who cares?
Everyone says they do. Nobody does.
No, but he said his, everybody wants the comp, and I don't like doing that. And he said what players and scouts have said is Julio. I'm like, he's more flexible. He's more rangy. Julio was a monster of a man, still is. But this kid's more wiry, and I think he's better athletically. I'm not saying Julio wasn't great, but this kid, I'm telling you, is in a tier of his own. If he was in this, I mean, and he's got 2 more years.
Yes, by rule. Rule. Has to play 3 years.
Big Ten DCs, have fun.
Oh, my God. He's insane. So those are the 4. And, I mean, it's a ratings bonanza for us because these are massive brands. And you have Midwest, just giant fan bases that have a big footprint nationally. I mean, obviously, if you get Oregon, you get West Coast. But, I mean, in terms of brands, these are brand names that remain. And it's going to take – Ohio State's a significant favorite based on what they've done to date. And you either get a rematch with Penn State if it's them, or they have to deal with that Notre Dame defense. I don't know. I just think anything's interesting. It's like these are face cards in the deck. Like you're going to get a good hand no matter who you get, except you'll be in hell.
I just have for people, Penn State and Notre Dame fans, please bring some sunscreen. Please. I could already see it walking around.
Like when I went to the Open Championship in 2000, Tiger finished off the slam. We were in Scotland. It was like 80 degrees, and there was people whose skin hadn't seen the sun in maybe a decade. They were walking around following Tiger. Oh, I've got a wee bit of sunburn on my shoulders. What? They ran out of ice, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, we've run out of ice. It's a really simple recipe. Get the water, put it in the fridge, instant ice. Nope, we're all out. I don't think people from South Bend and State College are quite the same as folks in Ayr, Scotland, but
they'll enjoy themselves.
Oh, yeah. As they should. As they should.
I tell you, that's the new upgrades of like this. That game in that have you been to Hard Rock since they redid it?
No, and let me tell you, it was, before they fixed it, it was an absolute shitbox.
Yes.
Dump of all dumps. And what I've seen.
Maryland Orange Bowl, were you there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Did you go up 7-0?
I just remember Brock Berlin played the first quarter, and then Grossman came in, and the ball did not hit the ground for about 2.5 hours. But anyway, it was not great, but what they've done to it's incredible.
It's awesome, man. I'm telling you.
Haven't been in it.
It's really, really cool. In both of those fan bases, as passionate as they are, see, growing up, this was the game.
Orange Bowl?
No, Penn State, Notre Dame. They played every year. Like it was war with my buddies growing up, and there were some fantastic games. I wasn't rooting for either team,
right,
but I still always remember watching them. And it's a game that I've always thought of going back when you think about those two teams. So it'll be really cool.
It's a massive game for Penn State. Massive, massive, massive. Because you have done what everyone thought you'd do. You played SMU and Boise. You're here. No one's saying that's a bad thing. You should absolutely celebrate what it is. But you all know better than anybody what the issues have been. When you get into the deep end of the pool with the very best, what happens?
And they have the talent. They
no
do.
Doubt.
No,
I'm not saying they don't. They know they do, but they also know that they had the talent when they played Ohio State this year and got down there and just. I still can't figure out what happened. But I mean, you weren't gifted this. I'm not suggesting you were, but
wait. So
I'd be pretty pissed if I'm Oregon and that's who I had to play. But you know what? If you lost the way Oregon did, you can't complain because you weren't going to win anyway. Go ahead.
So Penn State's going to be the home. I wanted Penn State in the all whites. Oh, Penn State home jersey, Notre Dame road, and then Texas is the home team. Ohio State's in the whites again. They're the 8 seed.
Pretty good 8. Think we'll sort that out moving forward?
I would hope so.
Think we'll figure some stuff out?
Man.
Yeah. Bowls. I have things written down.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, listen, not for nothing. Bam in South Carolina, you guys had a lot of advocates. A lot of people were waving the banner for you. You lost to Big Ten teams. That happened. So, like, you gotta eat that. And I see a lot of people.
Do you?
Yeah, and here's why. Here's what you have to acknowledge. It's very secular as we discussed. There are a lot of people that are saying, like, hey, the SEC talk. Hey, if Ohio State wins, you got back-to-back Big Ten teams winning it in this era of NIL and portal, and so then you'd have two, and you should absolutely be able to crow about that. Absolutely. You just have to acknowledge that there's a reason why the SEC has had what it's had in terms of buy-in and people giving them benefit of the doubt. It's several decades of this, and people act listen, I get it. You're going to turn it at us and say agenda and your SEC, this and that. And you're like, well, they are on our network, as were all the leagues until this year. Many of them still are, but it's mostly that there's a 20-year run where you want to count how many different teams there were from that conference that won it. That happened. Like, we're not out of our minds for saying this is what they did, because they did it. But that leads to a fatigue of people saying it can't always just be them because they were good before. And these teams that people said these 3-loss teams should be in went out and got beat. So you got to own the fact that happened, because it happened. So there's very little reasonable conversation where more than one thing can be true.
Yeah.
Right. The SEC was great for a long ass time. Pretending like that's not true, well, you come off looking idiotic. But I think you come off equally as poorly if you just want to explain this away and act like it didn't happen. People stumped for these 3-loss teams and they got beat. The only way you ever know anything is if people play each other. Well, they played them, they lost. So that's what it was.
Yeah, I was taking it differently. I thought you were talking about Alabama specifically in this game and South Carolina specifically in their game. I was like, nobody played.
You're gonna take a 60-minute sample size and you're gonna make that be what this team and this conference.
Yeah, I don't have time for that. Have fun with it.
Well, right. I mean, we do this with bowls all the time.
Like it's not the way to do it. I just don't want just celebrate what you have.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, we were at all the biggest Big Ten games.
Well, that's the point I always make.
We were at Ohio State, Oregon.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, this network covers the sport and goes to the games that are the biggest games. Every Big Ten game that was a big game, game day was there.
We were there.
Some acknowledging of that, like, again, from other networks who want to take shots. So you guys going to come to an SEC game when it matters? I mean, because you haven't yet.
I mean,
it's neither here nor there. Game day, and that's your show. I shouldn't be the one speaking for it.
Show.
Well, you're part of the show. You go to the biggest games.
Mm-hmm.
And the Big Ten has half of the representation in the championship final. So Final Four, half of them Big Ten. You could have a Big Ten. And it'd be 2 years in a row. In the NIL portal era, it certainly speaks to the winds are changing. You can acknowledge that's a thing. Just like you can acknowledge that there's a reason why 20 years of people winning, you go, well, yeah, you kind of earn that benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit, the Bielema Beamer thing just was like, whoa, that was heated.
Yeah.
Michigan, it was not a vintage Michigan team. They end their year with that defense bottling up Ohio State. I still can't figure out how. Didn't throw the ball for a couple quarters there in Columbus. Neither here nor there. You guys are rolling. But you beat Ohio State and Michigan. Excuse me. You beat Ohio State and Alabama to end your year. That's amazing.
Yeah, and they got it rolling, man. They got it rolling. That's the thing. Being on the road and talking to people and administration and athletic departments, like
alignment.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
Wow.
In Ann Arbor, you mean?
Oh, Ann Arbor, Happy Valley, Columbus, Austin. Yeah. There's some commas being thrown around. It's crazy.
Well, this is what it is.
Yeah.
This will make it interesting to see, because there are, if for those Big Ten schools that got sick and tired of it being the SEC over and over again, and now it's like, hey, we can all throw this dough around, and guess what? Michigan, we got it.
Yeah.
Ohio State, we got it. Penn State, we got it. You know, those folks down south have it too, so they don't take kindly to feeling like they're getting shoved to the side or feeling like they're second rate. So it'll be just an arms race across the board. It is funny, though, that Ole Miss, and that was a team you and I stumped for, of the 3 lost teams. You knew Lane would just go troll as much as he could. Would they have 580 some odd yards of offense?
Did you see what Duke did for the last touchdown? That was incredible.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe that it got executed. Good for them. ACC?
Not great.
Basketball season.
Is that a good thing in that league?
Who's good?
ACC?
No, in college basketball.
Oh, yeah, but I was going to say the ACC can't really lean into that this year.
No.
What BYU was awesome.
Awesome.
Tip of the cap to them. Cam Ward, what do you got?
Giants.
Okay. People may, should he play? Should he play?
Malik Neighbors did the same exact thing last year.
Right. Jaden Daniels was, among others, just said, I'm good. And he went second. This is going to cost him. Let me tell you precisely.
Let me tell you what it's not.
Let me tell you what it's precisely going to cost him. 0. Okay? He's going to be just fine. It's the reality of the situation. I do wonder moving forward about NIL. Like, do you say, okay, your last payment is going to be you got to play your bowl game?
Yeah, it's just all screwed up. The calendar year, the school year, like, it's just dumb.
All right, what do you got for me bowl-wise?
SC, A&M, awesome game.
It really was.
Had the under 7-7 at halftime.
How'd
it didn't go under.
How'd that work out?
No. Arkansas, Texas Tech. Our guy Pitt, hip surgery, walking around with a cane.
Yes, sir. That's not how he does it. Yes, sir. That was it. Second one. First one was, I don't know what the first one was. Go ahead.
Balled out. I will say, SC and A&M, both quarterbacks coming back. Be happy.
No, you said that's fake. You said that's fake bowl momentum.
I'm just saying.
Fake momentum.
Be happy. I don't say think you're going to win the Big Ten next year.
Oh, okay.
But SC, what a fucked up season.
They lost to Maryland.
And they beat 2 SEC teams to start and end the year. In Vegas.
SEC stinks, Steve. Haven't you heard?
I got it. Arkansas did not stink against Texas Tech. Talon was awesome, 400-plus yards. Vandy, Georgia Tech, awesome game. Very chippy. Pavia, good luck with him next year, man. That guy is a bulldog. Cuse got a win for ACC. But
not by enough.
My guy, Zevi Eckhouse, he's not in the portal anymore. He went in the portal. Little scrappy quarterback for Wazoo. Was told he played at Butler. I didn't even know Butler had football. He was awesome.
How many people did they have in the portal?
27.
They didn't have enough people to play.
They were my most impressive team, and they lost.
Washington State.
Lost. Syracuse, you still lost to Stanford. How the hell that happened? Navy looked like they were going to get killed by Oklahoma.
Didn't.
Won the game.
Beat Army.
And I give Venables credit. He went for 2. None of this 2-point, because Pitt Toledo, awesome game. I got drowned out by the overtimes. USF San Jose State, Christmas Eve, same deal.
It's beginning to look a lot. It actually was like
16 points of 2-pointers.
So stupid.
Come on. What else we got? Rutgers, K-State. Awesome game. Rutgers blew a lead. K-State, I really like climbing.
Keep going.
Arkansas State, Bowling Green, Fannin Jr., 17 catches.
Number 0 tight end.
Draft him.
Going to the league.
I thought he should have went to if he had any eligibility. Any team would take. The kid's a baller.
Yeah.
Ole Miss last night. What else did we have there? What was the day of another one? LSU rolled.
You done thinking out loud about bowl games?
I've watched so much, and they were all so good that Washington Louisville was fantastic. Washington might have a quarterback.
Yeah,
yeah, he looked good.
Fake momentum.
Jed Fish can coach, man.
I agree with that.
I'm so pissed it took that guy that long to get a head job. He's fantastic. Be fired up in Seattle.
Okay, and that was bowl recap from Stanford Steve. It is Week 18 in the NFL. And it's large.
Who's playing?
There you go. That's that.
I mean,
there's your pod title.
The Browns are getting 20.
I wouldn't take them,
dude. Zappy.
Actually, do you know what? At
Come
this point,
on,
just take every favorite and bet your lungs on them.
Yeah,
and parlay them to your spleen and your kidney, because favorites just win, all of them. You get to overtime with the dog, and you're like, maybe no. The team laying 3.5 is going to score a touchdown. You understand how this works? Who's playing is the question.
They're getting 20.
And that's the issue that, frankly, takes what is on paper a weekend of, wow, a lot of stuff. Not really. Not really. I mean, we have the doubleheader countdown tomorrow. Cleveland, Baltimore. If Baltimore wins, fingers crossed, Baltimore. You're only laying 3 touchdowns. They win the North. Pittsburgh and free fall. That game matters to them because they don't want to enter into the tournament on a 4-game skid. Cincinnati has to win. They need Miami and Kansas City and Denver to lose, and it doesn't seem likely. Kansas City's not playing.
That's in Mile High too, right?
Correct. And they almost beat them in Arrowhead. I mean, they got a block kick at the gun to lose that. So, I mean, it feels what?
Chiefs are getting 10.5.
There you go.
Wentzy.
So
audition.
Denver, it would appear, is expected to get that last playoff spot, which
everyone's going to be mad about. Everyone wants the Bengals in, except the teams that are in the playoffs in the AFC.
And I certainly am in that camp.
So if they don't make the playoffs, does that mean you did die on the hill?
I'm dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Awesome Hard Knocks, though. Burrow, in the second half, they realized the corner's down, and he's like, T, you're going to have a monster second half. He did.
Pick him up.
Sorry, Steph.
Somebody's going to try to give that dude a ton of dough. He'd look good in a Commander's uniform. Don't you think? No Saquon. That's the smart thing. They wanted to get to 2,000 yards. He did. There's no reason to do it other than if you wanted to troll the Giants. I think it's bad enough.
How about the trolls go take a break?
It just never ends, man.
Never.
It really, isn't it exhausting to turn every single thing into, well, yeah, what about this? Jesus. I can't exist like that. Tampa Bay is going to win the South, almost certainly. New Orleans is on the struggle bus as much as anybody. If they win that, then they win the South again. There's one game that's the everything game, and that's Detroit, Minnesota. I couldn't believe Detroit played their guys on Monday against San Francisco. Couldn't believe it. I mean, a series, a half, signed up for 60, bro. And we had J-Mo and Amon-Ra on the set with us. And St. Brown was like, look, people said it meant nothing. It meant something to us. Like, right on. I get it, but if somebody gets hurt, it's incredibly risky for them to do what they did, because the game against Minnesota on Sunday night was going to mean the exact same thing whether they won or lost the game. I suppose it says a lot about Detroit that they went out there against a team who beat them a year ago, knocked them out of the Super Bowl. They wanted to beat them, and they had a huge second half and won. I like Detroit at home. I just think Minnesota has been this team that all year. Wait, they won 14 games?
Mm-hmm.
They got 14 wins as you and I speak. I think underestimating them has clearly been a mistake all year long. The first game they played was a wild back and forth affair. I just can't see Minnesota stopping them enough to win the game. I think Detroit's offense is just...
I worry about Detroit's defense.
That's certainly fair.
I like Minnesota.
Bang. Stanford Steve, who's hotter than a pistol.
10-1 in the playoffs.
No big deal. By the way, isn't that nice? They sang happy birthday to you.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. I sent out a tweet just because we're proud of our boy. And I saw the rarest of thing there. I saw a lot of people giving you credit for your record as opposed to just...
I didn't.
You didn't see it?
No.
The responses were very nice. People were pointing out that you're like guys on fire. Thank you for acknowledging that he did something good on social media as opposed to just yelling terrible things. So that's what we've got. We'll find out our playoff game where we will go for Monday night. Are you coming up to Connecticut tomorrow?
Yeah.
Are you?
I do Sports Center after.
You do?
You do.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I honestly don't know what day it is.
No, I know.
I know. Well, I do because I know tomorrow we have to go to Connecticut and it's Saturday.
Remember when you said you were never going to go back?
Did I? I did say that. I've been back a few times. You know what? I liked it more than I act.
There you go. What's your pizza spot?
Luna Pizza.
All right, I'm going to try and stop at Luna.
Really?
Yeah.
Sausage and pepperoni, well done.
Done.
It's so good. Are you going to bring it?
I'm going to try.
Oh, my gosh. Now I'm really fired up.
Maybe we could get are they open early on Saturdays, do you know?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure.
Probably we could talk about this later.
Okay. No, let's talk about it now for make people have to sit through.
We got to get hands on a car.
Oh. We'll figure it out.
Steal one from our coworkers.
Sure.
They're not leaving.
No, just zip down there and pick it up. Oh, man, now I'm excited. All right. Happy holidays. If you're taking your tree down, don't wear a white sweatshirt and you get covered with sap. It's not ideal. And that's all I got.
That's it, man.
The worst end of interviewer and the worst end of podder in the game. Right here. You're looking at it. You're listening to it. Not anymore. Stop talking.